Good evening and welcome to Slam the Gavel, the show that tells all regarding family court, other court issues, as well as CPS. I am your host, Maryann Petri. You can find me, my books, and blogs on dismantlingfamilycourtcorruption.com. The book Dismantling Family Court Corruption, Why Taking the Kids Was Not Enough, came out in 2020 and became a bestseller in 2022. And Cry Out for Justice, Poems of Truth followed, as well as Raised by These Wolves, How Family and Federal Courts Are Failing Our Children. And July 17th, 2024, Raised by These Wolves, Volume 2, Child Trafficking Through the Foster Care and Court Systems, came out as a bestseller the first day. And feel free to buy me a coffee to help keep this podcast going. I have a return guest. I'm really happy to have Theo Chino back on. He was last on season 5, episode 128 and 143, where we talked about family court bills, breadcrumbs to their crimes, as well as the second podcast with Theo was lawyers versus plumbers. Are they licensed to plumb? So I welcome you back, Theo Chino. How are you?
I'm doing great. Did you see my little note when I bought you that coffee?
Oh, wait a minute. Maybe.
So
Wait,
if I so Marianne, if I worked for Homeland Security and you were trying to get through to get on the airplane, I wouldn't let you on. You know why?
why?
Because you're the bomb.
Oh, oh my God, that's hysterical.
So in my past life, before family court mauled my family up and threatened me and terrorized me with never seeing my kids again, even though there was no criminal activity, no drugs, no beating, not even cheating, and there were no issues with the children. And if my wife at the time drove off a cliff when she took a wrong turn following the GPS,
Mhm,
I would be made automatic sole parent of those children. And
mhm.
if I took a bad plane flight or did something and checked out, or God zapped me with a lightning bolt, she would be automatic full parent. I don't understand how it was ever a question that either of us could have ever not retained our parental rights. But
Mhm.
somehow, I think our financial affidavits made them realize that our case was very, very complicated. And
Oh,
we need lots of professionals on it. And way
mhm.
before I had met someone who we had made two beautiful children with together, in my past life, we used to have a lot of fun going out. And I had this friend, Vanessa. And when the internet became a thing, she printed out a bunch of pickup lines and she cut them up into little strips and she put them in her purse. And she goes, "All right, no wimping out. We're going to Club Voodoo tonight. And each one of us is going to pick one of these random pickup lines and we're going to use it on somebody at Club Voodoo." And I'm like, "Okay, I'm going first." And I picked my strip out and I read it. And I walk up to this girl standing at the bar who very well could have been the next, I mean, well, the first Mrs. Chino at that time. And I go up to her, I'm like, "Hey, excuse me, how did you get past security?" And she goes, "What?" I go, "How'd you get past security?" She's like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, "Because you're the bomb, baby." And I took the strip of paper and I threw it in the air and walked away towards my friends, and they're all dying laughing. And she goes, "Wait." And she grabs my arm. She's like, "Where are you going? Can I buy you a drink?" And I'm like, "That worked?
Wow.
What a life." What a
Man, how come
life.
you didn't go for that one?
Well, I'm thinking, let me think here. Yeah, I think she's a little crazy. And you know how I know
Uh,
she's a little crazy?
hmm.
Because she liked me. That's how I knew she was a little
Oh, I
crazy.
don't know. I mean,
That's the first red
no.
flag. That's it. I don't need to know anything else. Okay, so and as if I weren't, well, if let's just put it this way, if I weren't crazy at all before dealing with the
Mm,
family court professionals, or maybe I was just a little crazy according to some random person's analysis of me,
mm,
well, I'm sure dealing with family court didn't help at all, did
mm.
it?
No.
And I just had another crazy thought just this morning,
Mm.
and I started speaking French to myself. And I started saying to myself, "Voir dire, voir dire, voir dire." And I was like thinking to myself, like, why would you need to know French if you're going to court in America? And then
Yeah.
I started, right? And the next thought was unconstitutional family courts,
Hmm.
fake courts. Well, wait a minute. You know what we don't get in family court? And I have a laundry list. One of them is a jury.
Mhm.
And do you know what fun we miss out on because we don't get a jury? Well, you speak French now, don't you?
Yeah.
Voir dire. Voir dire. Now imagine if you have one person who's too lazy to dress up right for work and they wear a robe that
Yeah.
we pay for
Yep.
and that we pay to dry clean, and who sits up on this bench and just gets the things whenever they get to them. Imagine if that person, now they have to take on the role of not only a judge, but also a jury and oftentimes the executioner too.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
why don't we let them just grab the bailiff's gun and just shoot us? They have immunity.
Yeah.
Why can't they do that, Maryann? I mean, we've already
Oh,
given them the power of being a judge when oftentimes they're not even elected constitutionally. They're appointed by their buddies that they owe favors to.
right.
So we gave them that. We give them a free robe. We give them free dry cleaning. Oh,
Mm,
they get a pension that's fed off of some decisions that they make. No conflict there. And then we put the pressure on them of knowing everything about this family. But guess what?
mhm.
We relieve them of this pressure because they get a guardian ad litem or a minors counsel to look into that.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you about an interesting conversation I had with one of them. 40 cases at once, really? And oh, oh, the pain. You remember Dr. Smith from Lost in Space? Oh, the
Yeah.
pain. They
Wow.
had to talk to 80 flared up parents every weekend. Oh, that poor guardian ad litem. Oh my goodness. Why are you taking on 40 cases? And you charge 400 bucks an hour. Why are you doing that? When
Hmm.
you're supposed to be I'm going to ask you, Maryann, how many families, let's just say we gave you ultimate authority, immunity, we paid you. How many families that are going through a traumatic time in their family's history do you think that you could pay attention to and manage sufficiently at a time? What do you think, Maryann?
I guess my caseload would probably be 15.
Yeah, no more, right?
Yeah, to
And
give
then,
everyone quality attention because you're supposed to talk to both parents and the child sometimes or sometimes not. It depends on the state, right?
right, right. So 15. And then, you have a clerk, you have assistants. Of course, you don't have to beat anybody up. You can just tell the bailiff to do that for you, right?
Mhm.
So you don't have to worry
Mhm.
about staying in shape or doing steroids or learning martial arts or anything or learning how to shoot a gun because you have the bailiff and all of his buddies there to come and beat someone up if they're being disrespectful. But then you also are tasked with not only being the judge, but being the jury. How can you be a judge and the jury at the same time? How do you do that? How do you flip back and forth? Like
Mhm.
when someone brings up something inappropriate, you're supposed to tell yourself, disregard and strike that last comment. Really? Like you just heard it.
Yeah, you
What are we
heard it and
supposed to
it's
do?
implanted in the jury's mind.
Right. So let's go to Voir Dire, which is really funny because I just attended a CLE where they did, it's called My Cousin Vinny, and they do it once a year. And they cover the movie My Cousin Vinny. It says, yeah, like you blend, Marissa Tomei, the cutest ever in that movie. And they're going through the whole thing. And then they talk about Voir Dire. And they're going through and they're looking at these people and it's like, would you be okay with blah, blah, blah? And
Mhm.
then the lady says, I'd fry myself or something, or
Yeah.
whatever, right? So when the judge becomes a jury, shouldn't someone have the right to go and voir dire that judge?
Yeah.
Who is this person? Oh, they're a judge. They're very reputable, really. So they were elected by, oh, no, they weren't usually. Oh, they weren't, were they? They were appointed by their buddies, but the people that appointed them are very, I'm like, uh-huh, just wait 5 years. Their picture is going to be in the news for some kind of fraud or something that they're
Oh, yeah.
involved in.
It's a matter of time.
Yeah. And usually when they're getting in trouble, it's not for
Mhm.
something they really did that was bad. They just made somebody else in the power structure angry. That's all.
Mhm.
They're doing tons of bad stuff they don't get in trouble for, but As long as they're towing the line, they're rowing in the same direction with everybody else who's running the ship, they don't get in trouble.
Mm-mm.
They only get lit up. They only get disbarred when they go against their fellow mob. I'm sorry, bar members.
Yeah.
Yes, bar members.
Yeah.
Did I say mob? I don't know
Oh,
why I said that.
oh, we don't want to insult the mafia because they're family oriented.
That's right. The mafia actually respects people's families. At least they have
Right.
to pretend to. They have to at least pretend to, right? If the mafia really exists.
Mhm.
So now to my next point, voir dire. What kind of stuff do you want to know about someone on a jury who can execute you? You know what would be worse than someone pulling out a gun and shooting me, or hanging me up and crucifying me, or maybe uh, running enough. What is it again? We're going to run enough electricity through him to light up Birmingham or something from my
Yeah.
cousin Vinny.
Yeah.
What would be worse than all that? Damaging our children.
Right.
That's worse than all those things put together. So, wow, I would think if we're going to have a jury decide over something super important, even more important than you getting electrocuted to death, I think we want to know a couple things about these people. What would we want to know about them? What kind of
I,
stuff?
I would want to know their when they had their last psych eval and drug screen.
Bam. What else?
I would want to know their family situation because a lot of these judges don't even have kids of their own, and they're
Boom.
taking away everybody's kids. And then I would like to know if the opposing attorney has done any donations towards that judge's judge campaign or maybe his daughter's judge campaign.
Was I lying when I said you're the bomb? You really are. Just boom, 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 all over the place.
Oh my God.
How about criminal history? You
Oh,
know how
well,
many
that,
judges
yep,
are sitting up there and they slap somebody they live with? They did a little too much drinky and drivey.
right. DUIs. Yep, yep.
How many times were they divorced? Are they married now? Like you said, did they have kids? Did they ever have kids?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Do they have stepchildren? Do they not believe in that? What are their political beliefs?
Mm-hmm.
Because guess what? Family court is like running for office. The only rule is there are no rules. Bringing up your political beliefs is okay. I've heard so many people talk about this in family court, where the opposing counsel will find out the political beliefs of either the judge and jury and executioner, let's face it, and they will malign the other parent on the other side or the other lawyer and say, well, they're the person who likes so and so, and they're voting for so and so, just to make their loser, scummy, worse than cleaning toilets job of family lawyer
Mm-hmm.
even easier.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I changed my political party as soon as I found out what the judges' political parties were. Because I thought,
Interesting.
well, maybe they'll like me more.
Well, and that's it. I mean, you're in so much fear because of, this is
Hmm.
such a an oppressive, unconstitutional, therefore illegal. I mean, think about it. I've been watching a lot of sovereign citizen videos, alleged sovereign citizen
Hmm.
videos on YouTube, and I kind of consider it like courtroom version of porn. Like it was just watching some of these people tell these judges off, and I'm like, wow, okay, all right, they check that box, they check that box, they check that box, and they're calling out all the unconstitutional actions in these courts, and they're asking the judge things like, what jurisdiction is this in? They're like, well, if you have to ask a question like that, I think that's a clear indicator that you need a lawyer. You need an
Yeah.
attorney. It's like, I think you should just answer my question since you're supposedly in charge of this whole thing.
Yeah.
Instead of turning it around back on me and trying to get me to sign up with having a bar mob associate represent me and talk behind my back
Hmm.
while I'm paying them. So, next one I just heard this last, I think it happened just last Friday. Guy shows up, pro se, and his son got the incredible opportunity to go to Disneyland because his parents were generous enough to get them a really nice deal.
Hmm.
And I think, was it Disney World or Disneyland? I can't remember. I think it's the Florida one. Which one is that? Disney World?
Yeah.
Disney. Yeah.
Yeah. Disney
So
World.
they're
Yeah.
going there and they're going to stay on site, but it was during the kid's birthday. But it was during his parenting time, according to their agreement. What's the problem so far? Well, mom's not happy because mom has spent every birthday with her child,
Hmm.
every one of his birthdays since the separation, since before the separation. So there's a legal argument on both sides there. It's like, well, court order time doesn't say the child needs to spend time with their mother or father. It's just whoever he's with, that's who he's going to spend time with. But even though it fell on father's time, father would still let the son see the mother.
Hmm.
There we go. There's some,
Hmm.
past practice or whatever you want to call it, precedent, even, right? Like just within their own little case. And he shows up. She hired an attorney, probably paid him lots of money. He's really smart. He's got the suit on. And he shows up, but she can't be there because she's working. I paid somebody thousands of dollars. I'm sure he's going to handle it. He's going to make the case to the judge.
Hmm.
Guess what the lawyer does?
Tank it.
Yep.
Torpedo it.
Yep. Since his client was not there and the father was there fighting this, he goes, "Can I approach?" Why does he approach?
Ex
Because
parte.
now yep. And now it's not getting recorded. So
Hmm.
his client will never find out that he went up to the judge and goes, "Hey, judge, I'm sorry. I can't argue this in good faith. Every child should get the chance to go on vacations like this. I'm sorry. I'm not going to fight this." Now, what's the problem with that? Oh, look at that. Dad's happy. I won. Yay. Ha, ha. And I'm like, right.
Mm.
And my little boy gets to go to Disney World. Yay. Ha, ha, ha. What's the problem here? Oh, mother's light a few $1,000s because she got scammed by this
Hmm.
scumbag wearing a suit.
Right.
Because if the guy really had a problem with this, he should have told her, I've got a problem with this and I don't want to do this for you. I'm
Hmm.
sorry. I'm not your guy. Instead, what did he tell her? We're going to get him. And I'm going to tell him this and I'm going to do that
Oh,
and
yeah.
this motion and blah, blah, blah. And an emergency this and blah, blah, blah. And then when he gets there, can I approach?
Hmm. Hmm.
Again, I'm not like, mom's bad, dad's good, dad's bad, mom's good. I hate that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I absolutely hate it because I'm not saying it's not the truth sometimes or maybe all the time, but I'm so over that because
Hmm.
that is what allows these predators, these vampires to prey on people.
Hmm.
And then going back to Voir Dire, my goodness. And you tell me if you ask the judge who is acting unconstitutionally, in my opinion,
Hmm.
in the capacity of a jurist, if you ask the judge these questions, hey, judge, before we start, since you're going to be fulfilling like kind of a triple role of all these different things, one of your roles is to be the whole entire jury that I never had the option to get because we don't do that in the domestic relations division.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm just supposed to say, okay. This is weird. You ever have one of those weird dreams where you wake up, it's like, you better hurry up, man. Physics test in 2 minutes.
Oh
Did
my
you
God.
study? What? I've got a physics test? Oh my, oh no. Where are my books? Where are my pants? Right? It's like
Right.
this. This is what family court feels like. It's a weird dream. You're like, what? So I don't even get the option to have this lawsuit dismissed as a frivolous lawsuit.
Oh,
This person that I supported for X number of years, emotionally, physically, financially, that I did no harm to, is basically suing me right now. Your Honor, can we talk
man.
about this? I don't think this person has any grounds to sue me
Mm-hmm.
at all. Nope, we don't do that in domestic relations division. Okay, there's your first sign you're in an unconstitutional, therefore
Mm-hmm.
illegal court. And then
Mm-hmm.
you go, so let's talk about the jury. Oh yeah, you're so cute. We don't have that here either.
Yeah. Yeah.
Really. So you're going to be you're going to be the jury. You're going to be making the decision. Well, yeah, if you two can't get along and figure it out, right? Which usually you hear after all your money's gone, and the lawyers tell the judge, "Hey, it's time to whip out the whole. Well, you married him, and you two better figure out your problems." That's when it's time to say that one. And then you go, "You're going to be a jurist, right?" Well, no, I'm the judge. Well, then, but where's the jury? Well, we don't have those here. Well, who'll be serving in the capacity, the constitutional capacity of a jury? Well, that would be me. Well,
Mhm.
then you're a jurist. Can I ask you, can I speak French to you right now, Your Honor?
Mhm.
Parlez-vous
Mhm.
français? Voir dire? Can I ask you some voir dire?
Yeah.
Mademoiselle or Monsieur Judgy? It's like, yeah, no, why not? Oh, I can't ask you your criminal background, your criminal history. Like when you pulled a gun out on somebody,
Right, right.
when
Or
you
you did
shot
that
your
hit and
shotgun.
run. Yeah.
Oh, the hit and run. When you got pulled over for driving for the 12th time.
Mhm.
I can't ask you to take a drug test. Judgy Wudgy. That's what Curly used to say from the Three Stooges.
Oh,
Judgy
yeah.
boy. I can't ask you to take a drug test right here. No. How about a polygraph? Can I ask you about your
Oh,
political beliefs?
yeah.
Yeah. How about it like the psyche valve? Yeah,
Yeah.
come on. I think it's time. When's the last time you had one of those, Judge?
Oh,
How dare you impugn my judicial blah, blah, blah? It's like, I dare. I dare. I don't know who you are, and you have
mhm.
all of a sudden become bigger than God in regard to my family. Yes, absolutely, I dare. I wish. I wish I knew
Yeah.
then what I know now. I'd probably be in jail right now for saying
Oh,
all this
same,
stuff.
same. I mean, like, when you go to a doctor and you're going to have surgery, you know what their credentials are, and, they get random drug screens too.
Correct?
So, and if they're handling people's lives and families, I think the judges should do the same.
I think so.
And get rid of family court. You know me, I always say abolish it and get rid of it as well as CPS because they're both trouble and they intermingle.
Yeah, they do nothing but
No,
harm. They do
exactly.
nothing but side badly
And lie,
all the time and
perjury.
lie.
Yeah, constant perjury on the stand.
But it's not perjury because we have immunity. We're allowed to do that.
Yeah, yeah, they're allowed. Yep.
It's like no, you're not. Yes, I am. No, you're not. Yes, I am. No, you're not. Yes, I am. Anything I say, anything you say to me bounces off me and sticks to you. I'm rubber,
Yeah,
you're glue. It's like this is like what when you're arguing with these people, it's like, where did you get the idea this is okay? Who told you this is all right? Oh, well, we did. Who's we? I want to meet everybody that got together and said this is okay. I want to ask them all how we got to this point where you can act like this and do this stuff,
yeah.
right?
Oh, it's
Why?
horrible.
Yeah. And so you watch these sovereign citizen videos and these lawyers plug in and they're like, ha ha ha, what an idiot. Maybe that's why you should have hired a lawyer. So he can
Mhm.
backstab you and talk a bunch of mumbo jumbo to you and talk you out of fighting for your rights. And like these sovereign citizens may not understand what in the heck they're saying at all,
Mhm.
but they're actually making more lucid legal arguments than any public defender would make for them.
Yeah.
They're fighting harder. It's like, would I come in? I actually watched the case one time. I was in a traffic court, huge line of people, and the judge is like, "Is there anyone in here who speaks Spanish?" And I'm like, "Come on, there's got to be somebody court appointed. There's got to
Mm.
be somebody in this place that speaks Spanish better than I do." And nobody's raising their hand. I'm like, "Okay." And he's like, "Come on up here." And I was way in the back of the line. He pulled me all the way up to the front. He's like, "Could you tell this guy that blah blah blah?" And I tell him blah blah blah. And then he says something back to me, and this was crazy. This
Mhm.
is kind of why people need lawyers sometimes, because I was kind of acting in the capacity as this person's lawyer because the judge asked me to by being an interpreter. And it's funny because the judge was almost kind of acting in the capacity. And I've seen this. How many times have you seen a judge who is really just supposed to be like a referee
Hmm.
kind of be fighting on behalf of one side's legal arguments? It's like, why are you getting mixed up in this? You're supposed
Right.
to just sit in the middle and break it up when it's like when they're not obeying the rules, right? And so this judge tells me, hey, tell him that he has the right to leave on his own recognizance and come back and find a lawyer. And if he can't afford one, we'll pay for one and blah, blah, blah. And this poor guy, he's like, tell him that I don't have any real papers. I
Mm.
bought a driver's license that's fake. It's not my driver's license. And when the police officer caught me, I did that bad thing that he said I'm doing, and I just deserve to be punished now.
Mm.
And I'm like, ouch. I'm like, you sure you want me to tell him that? He's like, yeah. He's like, I was like, wow. This guy, I'm like,
Mm.
you sure? Yes, I want to be honest with the judge. And I'm like, okay. And
Mm.
I told the judge what he said, and he's like, all right, explain it to him one more time. He's like, yeah, but I don't have money for a lawyer. And I'm like, the judge said they'll pay for one for you. He's like, but it's not fair for you people to have to pay for a lawyer for me after I did so many bad things. I'm like, oh my gosh. I wanted to cry. I'm like, run. The judge is telling you you can run. I mean, he didn't kill anybody. He didn't hurt anything. And he was such a nice, honest person. I'm
Mm.
like, dude, you can go. Like, it's kind of, this is one of those where it's like, he's an illegal alien. And then somebody else, from the other side yells, no humans illegal, and all this other stuff. It's like, this guy was like, from what I could tell, just a really nice person. He just came here trying to make things better for himself. And then he got caught up in this legal system. He's like, you got me. I'm
Mm.
bad. It's time for me to be punished.
Mm.
You know, and then you have somebody, and I'll just call him Beretta. That's not his real last name. He's one of the first warriors of family court that I met. And he went up to his judge and he goes, Judge, I'd like to tell you something before we start. She's like, yes, Mr. Beretta. And he goes, you have a face like Miss Piggy. And he's like, and by the way, you are a beep, beep, beep. And I'm like, now this guy is kind of like street smart from Cicero. And he's not very educated, not very refined, but he's smart. And she goes, Mr. Beretta, dare you? And he said something like, oh, I dare. You look just like Miss Piggy. And she goes, you can't talk to me in my courtroom like that. He's like, I just did. And now you're going to have to recuse yourself. And she's like, what? Why would I do that? He's like, because at this point in time, Your Honor, it would be impossible for you to be impartial in these proceedings.
Ooh, nice.
This
Nice.
guy was like street smart, and he ended up making two judges retire early. He had three other family court mob Rico predators quit their careers. Like one of them got disbarred because of him, but
Mm.
he was just so physically sick from all the fighting, and he was just traumatized from never being able to see his children again.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, his soon to be ex-wife was very well connected with the community. She kind of pulled all the right moves where she kind of sucked him out to a community where she had connections and he didn't. She
No.
had it all kind of planned out. And they were actually going to separate amicably. And then when they were about to separate amicably, they figured, well, we need lawyers to drop the paperwork, so I'll get a lawyer and you get one too. And she calls him up and she's like, you son of a beep.
Ooh.
And he's like, what's
Mm.
wrong? She's like, I can't believe you tried to backstab me like this. You're going straight to hell. That's it. This is war. He's like, what happened? His, his lawyer behind his back filed for full custody when that was not what they had agreed on.
Oh, no.
And why did she do that? Cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. Hundreds of thousands of dollars later,
Oh, my God. Oh, no.
stirred up by this family court Rico mob member.
Hmm.
It was all done on purpose. And he caught, he's like, and he made sure that she got disbarred. He's like, I can't believe what you did to my family. So he fought and fought and fought. He got physically sick. He actually went in front of the judge one time, new judge, not Miss Piggy. This guy named Ron. And he's like, hey, Ron, you old piece of beep. He's like, hello, Mr. Beretta. How are you today? He's like, He's like, not good that I have to look at your ugly face. He's like, I know what you're trying to do. He's like, how would you like to go to jail for contempt? He's like, I'd love it, Ron. Why don't you send me there right now? And he's like, what? He's like, yeah, I got a bad tooth, Ron. He goes, guess what? I need somebody to work on this tooth. I don't have any dental coverage. He's like, my health's failing. He's like, I need some kind of medical treatment. I want to go to jail, Ron. I dare you. Send me there. He's like, have a good day, Beretta. He just let him go. Now, another one.
Hmm.
This gentleman I talked to prefers to remain anonymous, but he was sent by a judge after he caught this judge doing a lot of naughty, naughty things that they should not have been doing
Hmm.
to 5 months and 29 days in jail. Do you
Uh,
know why?
no.
Because if it had been 6 months, it was a local rule or a code or a statute or something in Illinois that would have forced it to a jury. And then the judge would have
Mm-hmm.
had a lot of explaining to do, as Ricky
Mm-hmm.
Ricardo used to say.
Mm-hmm.
And so 5 months and 29 days. And by the way, at the 3 month mark, when he was going to start to get to see his daughter, she pulls him out and goes, how you doing there? And he goes, well, she's like, how are you like in jail? He's like, actually, it's great. He goes, I get 3 square meals a day. I don't have to worry about rent anymore. He used to be an engineer. He had a
Oh.
great career, 7 kids, made lots of money. Family court just ruined his life, just
Mm-hmm.
destroyed his career, almost destroyed his soul. He's still hanging on to it, what's left of
Mm-hmm.
it, and destroyed his health. And then threw him in jail. 3 months, he gets pulled out. How you doing? Great. I'm loving it in there. And he goes, guess my favorite part about being in jail is, she's like, what's that? I have more time to draft all my lawsuits against you. And then you know what she does? She's like, all right, new deal. You're just going to have to go to jail on the weekends. During the week, you're going to have to be out there pounding the pavement, looking for a job and finding a place to sleep.
Oh my God, what a waste of taxpayer dollars.
Yep. We're paying to,
Oh,
to quote to quote my buddy Mikey Romano, who was paying for Taekwondo lessons from an old school Korean master who was really rough, who used to get really rough on them. He's like, I'm paying you to abuse me like this. We're paying them to beat us up and abuse us.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I used to think being a good taxpayer was being a good citizen.
Mm. It's taxpayer funded child psychological abuse as well as legal abuse on the parent.
Correct. And you have this little Rico scam mob outfit, and you have the judges and their little pilot fish, like the family law professionals, like the psychologists, like
Mm-hmm.
the therapists, like, oh, all these other people. I mean, I just heard this case where someone is paid like $150 an hour, and they don't do like fractions of hour increments or something, to read messages from the mother who has been
Mm-hmm.
restricted from seeing her children to the children. She gets paid, and guess who has to pay? The mother, who's not allowed to see the children. She gets paid to read these messages and screen them before she reads them out loud to the children. Now, in communist countries, when people had relatives behind their Iron Curtain, when they would send them letters, guess what? You had good comrades opening your mail and
Mm-hmm.
scanning through and looking for seditious comments and other things. And look at that. I always felt like family court was like a little mini testing ground for totalitarian, dictatorial, communist regime in America. And I'm sorry to say, but I think most Americans are ready for communism. They're ready for not true communism, because that true communism, where everybody just puts in their best effort every day and everybody just shares, and just gives the people what they need, and nobody's taking too much and everybody's working hard. That's true communism, which is impossible. Doesn't even happen in families usually. But
Mm-hmm.
true communism is a beautiful thing. What really happens is communism is the excuse for a dictator and a ruling elite class to come in and just do whatever they want to everybody. And then bash everyone over the head for not being a good comrade.
But that's already
And I'm
happened
telling you,
in family court, right?
what does that sound exactly like, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, every family court judge now is like their own little Kim,
Kim
what is
Il
it?
Jong.
Yes, or they're, let's face it, every family court judge is their own little Adolf,
Hmm.
sentencing families to be sent off to where, right?
Yeah.
Their own little Stalin, sending people to the gulags. There's no rights in these courts, and it's all a scam. And I had another funny idea. What if we set up an improv theater right outside of the courthouse where we had someone dressed up with a wig and the robe, maybe even the doily, like you said last time,
Yeah.
and have two other people dressed up in really douchey lawyer outfits, and have two people just crying and screaming, and have the kids and have the people tugging at the kids right in front of the courthouse and doing like an improv theater of how family court really goes.
Oh, yeah.
Scammers.
Oh, disgusting.
They,
God's gonna
they
deal with them.
oh yeah. And they can't even follow their own rules, Marianne.
No.
You know, what happens to you when you miss a deadline by 10 minutes? Oh, sorry, Marianne, you missed the deadline. Looks like I'm going to sentence you to hell for eternity now. No, there's no appeal. Oh, you could appeal, I guess. It'll take years, but 9% chance anything will be reconsidered in this thing
Mm.
after thousands and thousands of more dollars. But it's like, there you go. And then what happens when one of their little buddies, one of their little Rico mob mafia buddies, no offense to the real mafia,
Right.
when they miss a deadline by months, anything? Nope.
Mm-mm.
Not even a little slap on the wrist, not even a little finger wagging, nothing.
No.
Oh, sure, Miss GAL, you little troll. Sure, you're 3 months late with your report because you left the country and didn't tell anybody where you were going because
Oh,
you were chasing your husband while telling somebody else, be strong. You don't need him. You're
wow.
months late with your report and you're allowed to just submit your report. Oh, yeah. But then a good parent is told, oh, sorry, you didn't get that listing in time. So guess what? We're moving forward with this unconstitutional,
Hmm.
unfair, and damaging action to the children.
Oh, yes. Yes. You know, I'm sure you've heard this too. Well, if the kids talk to the judge will listen to these kids. When my kids were sequestered, my lawyer ran out and she said, they're twisting your son's words. And it's like, now what? Oh, yeah. Yeah. He wanted, which is what I wanted, whatever the kids wanted, which was 50-50, which we had been for like almost 9 to 10 years until, he married a whore of the court who interfered in our co-parenting relationship. Right. So, here's a kid telling a judge, and I have the transcript, what he wants. He wants to be able to see his mother. And what does a judge do? He doesn't give the kid what he wants, the 50-50. He gives the kid mom every other weekend and no holidays and not even Mother's Day.
Oh.
Yeah.
And it's just a sausage factory.
Yeah.
You're just a link of sausage, and they're just watching you go by. And
Yeah.
everybody's like, I told the judge, and Jenny likes to go to sleep at this time, and she needs her teddy bear. And the judge, like, looking at me, I'm like, they're not paying. They're thinking, when's lunch? Am I
Yeah.
gonna miss Taco Tuesday?
How soon
That's
can
what
I
they're
get onto
thinking.
the golf course?
Yep, there you go. And you know what? I better be there in time for that wake because I know Ed's gonna be there and he's gonna double dip in the chip, and I want to catch him. It's like they're involved in so many petty squabbles.
Oh, yeah.
Their lives usually are such a horrid mess. You wouldn't let them be in charge of their own lives, much less your family.
Not at all.
And I'm going to leave everybody with this thought. They always go, abolish family court. What's going to happen? What if the children are in danger? I'm like, they are in danger. It's the
Yeah.
family court that's endangering them.
Wake up.
It's like they're in danger. This is a giant family eating squid.
Yeah.
And one of the tentacles is family court.
Hmm.
And I love calamari. So, you know what we're going to do? We're going to take their bills, we're going to chop them up, I'm going to fry them up, and they're going to be so tasty. I'm going to give you a little update on legal management services.
Okay.
There's another entity I'm working with, prefer to be kind of quiet right now, but I'm
Mhm.
working with them and they're starting a nationwide law firm focusing on family law. And this law firm is going to, unlike almost every other law firm I've ever heard of, acknowledge that these family courts are not only corrupt, but just completely unconstitutional.
Hmm.
And these this law firm is going to help people represent themselves. I think the biggest thing that I could have told me 6 years ago was, hey, if you think that this court is fake and that anything you do and say doesn't matter, you're right. Do not give them any power. Don't ever admit anything bad about yourself to these rotten, evil, undead vampires.
Hmm.
They are on their best day worse than the worst parent on their worst day.
Mm.
All of them. You know,
Yeah.
they say, but what if a parent's dangerous? Really? How many kids can one parent hurt? I don't know. What do they got? 7 kids? Okay, they can hurt 7 kids. How many kids can one family court judge hurt?
Countless.
Thousands.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. We're talking making serial killers look cute.
Right. I'd like to take all my lawyer bills and give them to the president judge because he caused this whole big mess.
I like it. That could be
He can
that could be
afford it.
something to talk about.
I mean, he can afford it. He could actually afford to pay off all my attorney fees. I think he should.
This is a great idea because you know what else too is not only could we analyze those bills for their fraudulent elements or as we call them billing anomalies that need to be addressed, but yes, who caused that huge mess? I think they're responsible for the damages.
Hmm.
Anybody who flared up the conflict, anybody who did something improper, I
Hmm.
mean, that results in tens, if not hundreds, sometimes million, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars in extra legal fees. More races around the racetrack, as Michael Caruso likes to say. We're
Yeah.
just horses. And we're just in the stall and we run like crazy. Maybe we break a leg, maybe we don't, and they'll shoot us afterwards. But maybe we'll make it all the way around tired in the exact same place we started in
Oh,
again.
yeah. Isn't
And they're
that
going to, right? And then they're going to tell us, well, now you figure it out. Really? What did I need this whole cast of clowns for?
right?
If I was just going to have to figure it out myself anyway after it was all done. And you just made it immensely harder because you've drained us of all these resources.
Hmm.
You've terrorized us. You've
Hmm.
damaged us. You've ruined our careers.
Our
They're like,
health.
we didn't ruin yeah, our health. And they're like, we didn't ruin your career. You did that to you. You should have blah, blah, blah. I love, one of my favorites is too, is I started a WhatsApp group called Over It Yet? Just get over it, right?
Oh,
You could
yeah.
just stop, just get over it. You could just get over it. Really? How about when you're in family court for over 10 years, 11 years, and your house is being taken out of a trust that you put it in, that you bought after you were divorced, being sold by your ex, who's a realtor, for
Mm.
100 grand less than it's worth to a secret buyer she found on the private listing network. And here's my favorite part: the seller's attorney, meaning my acquaintance, the person I know who is the owner of the house, the seller's attorney is his ex-wife's divorce attorney.
Yeah. I believe that, or even could be a judge buying it.
And there you go. And then we find out that guess what? There's an improper past relationship between the judge and one of the law firms. And we had to find this through some digging. And you
Mhm.
know where we get all this info from? Bills. Like, what's that person doing on there? Wait a minute. Now they're the judge? But
Mhm.
they were an attorney for this person in this other case. We learned so much from these bills, Maryann. But what we do is we'll take the bills. I have an algorithm that I train to process the bills. I tell people to redact any sensitive information that's revealed on those bills.
Mhm.
But we run them through an algorithm. You wouldn't believe how sloppy these bills are, Maryann.
Mhm.
It's unreal. I'd say 90% of any items on these bills are easily challenged. One of my favorites is we have a client right now who was charged $1,500 to be defended on a matter. And this person is not an expert on this thing. This person is an expert on hanging this thing on somebody else falsely and decides to represent him, takes $1,500, never has him sign a fee agreement, never issues a bill, and then stands there like a support pet during the whole sham unconstitutional hearing. This guy gets slapped with a civil process that looks and smells and is exactly like a criminal process. He's terrified beyond belief. He complies with everything. And this person dumps him then,
Mhm.
the attorney that took the $1,500. And
Mhm.
then this guy's driving along thinking it's all over. Woo! And red, white, and blue means freedom until you see that flashing in your rearview mirror.
Mhm.
He's got a warrant out for his arrest because his attorney that he paid $1,500 to do nothing, did nothing, didn't check all the boxes, didn't verify that this person complied with everything from this order like they did, and spends 3 days in jail.
Oh my God.
Do you think that this person should get their $1,500 back?
Yeah.
No fee agreement? That's the best part. They charge $400 an hour. I'm like, listen, if minimum wage was $4 an hour,
Mhm.
I'd still begrudge you that $4 an hour. You suck. Most of them are just absolutely terrible and inadequate at what they do.
Mhm.
One lawyer didn't know that antenuptial was the same thing as prenuptial. How do you practice law for 3 decades and not know that the word ante, or like when you go to get your antipasto, right? It's
Yeah.
like, right? How do you know that ante doesn't mean in front of or before
Mhm.
the
Mhm.
nuptials? It's like, what? It's just insane. I mean, I've been screamed at by lawyers telling me, never, the judge will never agree to that. We walk up in front of the judge without even saying a word. The judge is like, well, yeah, of course, that's how that's going to go. I'm like, wow,
Mhm.
how do I not slap this person right now?
I
I'm
know.
paying them $450 an hour and they're screaming at me and they're
Yeah.
absolutely wrong. So that's what you pay for when you pay these lawyers. But now, thanks to legal management services and thanks to my education that I wish I had never
Mhm.
gotten, I can
Mm.
look at those bills with you all, go through them. At the very least, you'll realize that, wow, maybe it wasn't all you. Maybe you weren't the only source of all the problems. So much incompetence, so much greed, so much just horrible, horrible record keeping revealed through my algorithms that I built.
Wow. Because when I had met my third attorney, he was very irritated with me and said that me and my previous attorney started a war. I'm like, "What war?" He goes, "Well, you went after him for full custody." I said, I didn't. I was always 50-50 because we had been, like I said, for 9 years. It's what the kids want." And he just sat back. But 2 weeks later, when I had to go see him again for something so he could rack up more of a bill, he said he believed everything I said. about the previous attorney. He says, I believe she did not communicate with you. I believe he went off on all these things that I was telling him.
So you nailed. See, there you go. Beretta, same thing. They pulled the same thing on you too. I mean, you're paying these people to ruin your life.
Yeah, I
That's
had
all you're
no.
doing.
Yeah, it's like I wasn't. And oh, yeah, here's a good one for you because before we really went into this family court, we had co-parent counselors. And so the attorney and I can't even say his name, but in this book here, his name is Seth Baylor. Anyway, that's a demonic name, just so you know. Happy Halloween.
Wow.
Yeah, so this is all full of yeah. Anyway, I said to my lawyer, because everyone was yelling before I even got there, and the door was closed. I'm listening in, and they're talking about my current husband's um four-wheeler that had cruise control. I'm going, they have that wrong. It's the new lawnmower that my husband bought that has cruise control. It's we would not let a kid on that ATV. In fact, we had sold it. So I don't even know where. So when the co-parent counselor opened the door, I said, just so you know, I heard everything in there. And her eyes got really wide. And then I sat down by my attorney. I said, now we all know here in the state of Pennsylvania, it's supposed to be 50-50. And my lawyer goes, shush, just stop, stop. And I said, but it's true. It's 50-50. Oh, maybe, I don't know. Maybe was she trying to protect me? I don't know. Maybe she was. Now that I look back, how do I know?
I mean, I think from what I know, shush, Maryann, you're killing my bill. You
Yeah.
know, if we do what you say, Mike, that's not in the best interest of the children, of my children. They need to go to private school. They need to be dropped off in a luxury foreign automobile so they're not embarrassed to death. Right?
Right.
Wow.
Yeah. And the other
Oh,
side, they were just staring at like, like, but I
well,
was
so
just,
you listening outside of the door reminds me of something I heard from one of my teachers, and we were studying ancient Rome. There was a period in ancient Rome where there was patricians and plebeians. You ever hear this, like the plebs or
uh-huh.
common folk, right? Well, there was the patricians, and they all had the blood of gods in them. They were the real Romans, and the plebeians were just, all the people who do all the paying and dying for the demigods, right? And
Mhm.
they all lived in the highest parts of the hills of Rome, and the plebeians were like, you know what? This sucks. We're leaving.
Mhm.
Like, where are you going? Like, not staying here. This sucks. We're out. Wait, you can't do that. Come back. Who's gonna die and pay all those taxes? I mean, wait, you're Romans. We love you. No. It's like, well, you got to treat us nicer. Well, what do you want? Well, well, okay. I guess you guys could have some rights. Like what? Well, okay. How about we? They're like, we want to hear what's going on in that Senate House, and they're like, well, we can't have you guys in there, you dirty rubbish, you lowly plebeians, you peasants. It's like, well, the best we could do is let's we'll let one of you sit outside the door and listen. And if you hear something you don't like, you can yell, veto, veto,
Yeah.
right? It's like, all right, we'll take it. We're coming back. It's like that kind of reminds me of that story. Can you imagine if we had a law like that? Like, hey, when you guys go behind and you go into the judge's chambers to discuss things,
Mhm.
you should at least be able to you should be allowed to listen by the door
Oh, yeah.
and yell veto.
Yeah.
And maybe you just get one time. You're only allowed to yell it once. That's it. Like, you got your one. That's it. Okay. But yeah, this is a ruling class. They're
Mhm.
elite. They're special. I don't ever remember signing anything saying, hey, in case the mother of my children and I don't get along, I
Mhm.
think that these people should have supremacy over me and the mother of my children in regards to what happens to our children. I don't remember signing anything like that.
No. you know,
Michael Crusoe jokes. He's like, I may have been drunk and signed something like that. I'm like, wouldn't count then
yeah.
because you weren't in the proper state of mind. And the other thing that you got to look at is this: is a lot of times if you ever have anybody who watches this and goes, you know what, I'd really like to have somebody look at my bills, because a lot of people get physically ill when they look at their bills. I to this day still can't look at the bills in my case, right? It
Mhm.
makes me sick. But I can run algorithms and do analysis on other people's bills. When they say, hey, I want somebody to look at them, great. It's a really just cathartic and almost vindicating experience when you see what losers these family law professionals are, how they can't even issue a good bill. I talked to another lawyer who wants to remain anonymous, who wants in on my little business enterprise now. And
Hmm.
he said, yeah, anytime somebody calls complaining about the bill, he's like, I just don't have time for that. I just give them an automatic 40% discount.
Huh.
Yeah. And there may be statutes of limitations, but from what I'm told again, there is no statute of limitation on fraud, especially if you weren't aware of it and all of a sudden become aware of it. That's maybe when the clock starts ticking, possibly. And it may vary state to state. And again, this is not legal advice. It's not good legal advice because there is no such thing as good
Yeah.
legal advice. But
Right.
this is something you may want to look into. You may want to use legal resources to research what I'm saying further because I don't expect anybody to trust me because honestly, I don't know what I'm doing either. But when I
Hmm.
see these bills and I see these anomalies and these things that can't be explained, and we call
Hmm.
these lawyers and say, could you explain this, please? And they're like, well, that was a long time ago. And the agreement says that you can't after 5 days. I'm like, no, that's not legal. You
Hmm.
can't do that. Like
Hmm.
our client just became aware of this yesterday and they want to sit down and talk to you about this. I don't have time. It's like, well, I guess to save yourself some time, you should just cut our client a check for $10,000 or whatever.
Hmm. Tax
And
free.
there's an, yeah, well, it should be. It better be. Because it really, you're just recouping money that you paid to somebody that you shouldn't have been charged. It should
Right.
be like a rebate or a refund, right? I mean, you don't have to pay taxes when you return something that was broken that you bought at the hardware store. You don't have to pay taxes on that refund.
Hmm.
Although I hope the IRS isn't listening right now. That'd be a great idea, wouldn't it?
Hmm.
Charge you taxes on refund money,
Yeah.
right? Sorry,
Well,
we need to keep those roads in shape.
I heard that if an attorney gives you money back, which is what my third attorney was doing, every time there was an F up, I would get like maybe 1,000 back or 1,500 back. And that's usually an admission to an F up, which
Yes.
is malpractice.
Well, and if as long as they resolve it and they fix it,
N-
it's fine, right?
Couldn't be
But
fixed.
yeah, and when they do irreparable damage, now that's when malpractice insurance should kick in. And one other little fun fact is that a lot of attorneys just have to report, but not verify that they have malpractice insurance.
Mm.
And so if you go on the ARDC website or the state bar's website and you look up to see if somebody reported they have malpractice insurance, it does not always mean. I know this is going to come as a shocker to you, Maryann. I hope you're seated
I
properly and
am
you're not going to
firmly. Yes.
fall over. I hope you're holding on to something.
Yes.
Sometimes lawyers lie.
Oh, no. They would
I
never.
know. Oh, yeah. Sometimes they lie. Wow. So they lie about having malpractice insurance.
Interesting. Well, but
Yeah.
then, like I've told you and other people, God will deal with them. And with my third attorney, well, I had to go pro se, but we passed each other on the sidewalk back and forth to the courthouse. I'd bump into him and he'd look at me and I'd look at him snidely. He looked like he was aging before my eyes. It was
Yeah.
weird. Then he dropped out of a heart attack. God works
Did
in
you sh
mysterious ways.
Did you show up to the wake with a fresh garlic necklace and a wooden stake and a
I,
silver cross?
I was living 2 hours away. He was not worth the drive to waste the gas.
Because I would show up with a wooden stake and I'd be like, no, I'm just gonna stay here till sundown just to make sure it's really dead and doesn't get up.
Yeah. Or,
You know,
or like, can I check a pulse? Can I check a carotid just to double check?
There was a Simpsons episode like that where Bart had to fake his death because what's his name? Nelson was picking on him so much. And Nelson went over to the wake and I think he punched him or he poked him with like a needle or something to make sure he was dead. I think I'm getting it right. Don't quote me on that one. But we are discovering so much with these bills, Marion, because what we have to do is like right now I'm running into an issue with multiple clients where they were never issued a bill and they keep asking for the bills and the attorneys are refusing to give them.
Hmm.
Probably because they never issued one. They just took the retainer, ran around and acted like they did something, which we all know probably sucked really bad.
Yeah.
And I mean, I pay a lot of these attorneys a retainer just to stay away from my family because they suck so bad at what they do.
Right.
I'd almost
Right.
probably go to them for advice and be like, got it, thank you. Now I know exactly what not to do because
Uh-huh.
their advice is just so dead wrong. It's terrible. I'd be like, yeah, I just want advice from somebody who's completely messed up and doesn't have a soul.
Hmm.
Thank you. All right. I'm going to do the opposite. Thanks. You know, the only time I believe a lawyer is not lying is when
Hmm.
they say that they're lying. Oh, wait. Yeah. I guess they'll tell the truth sometimes. They'll tell the truth if they think it's going to benefit them.
Oh,
So
right.
liars, yeah, lawyers don't always lie. There's an exception to that rule too, you
Hmm.
know, especially family court, mob, RICO members, right? But yeah, these bills are telling us a lot, Marianne. So if you want some vindication, even if your case is really long gone, we'll kind of give you a sample. We'll just take like a screenshot of a page of one of your bills and run the algorithm on it. You'd be shocked to see what would happen. You know, just giving them a phone call out of the blue and be like, hey, it's me. Remember me? No, of course you don't. Well, now you're going to remember me. Do you know what this, and this was all about?
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, you said it took you 2 hours to draft this. Do you happen to, you didn't mention how long this thing is. Is that a problem? Not for you. It is for me. Yeah, could you pull that document up? Tell me how many pages that was. And then somebody made the comment the other day, wow, you read slower than a first grader who's learning how to read, right? We're catching so much. So
Yeah, I'll have to send you one of my bills.
do it. Yeah. So even just a screenshot of it or
Yeah.
whatever. Make sure you take out. I don't want to see anybody's private information, whatever.
No.
Like if there's any social security numbers, birth dates,
Oh.
names of children. I mean, I'd rather have that stuff blocked out if you don't want it shared with, you know, just anybody and everybody because we like to use sometimes people's bills as marketing materials, taking out, you know, any personal identifying information. We like to use it as marketing information so other people can see and go, oh, that's why they did all that to me. Now
Hmm.
it makes sense, right? Yeah, so just send me a screenshot of one of the pages or just take a picture of one and send it to me. I'd be happy to like maybe on our next episode we could go through it together.
Oh, that would be fun.
And you know, I was gonna say, I do you still have me on right now?
Oh, yeah, I see your name.
Okay.
I don't see you
Okay,
though.
good. I was gonna say maybe right now, if it's not gonna be too hard, I could send you a sample of one of our analyses of the bills, and you could just, well, this one, this little pie chart is scary because, oh yeah, that's a good one. That's actually, this is a pie chart of a good bill. I'm gonna just email it to you
Okay.
and hold on a moment here. Modern technology could maybe edit this part out, but yeah, just so people can kind of see what this looks like. Uh, Maryann Petri 3, right? Yep.
Yep.
And pie chart. I don't know if you're able to screen share, but there's one. And then while you're trying to pull that up, I'm going to find something else that's very interesting and send that to you too. But if you pull that pie chart up, that's actually an analysis of just 1 month's worth of bills from a law firm that was not really so bad,
Hmm.
right? They were actually okay. And if you look at the amount that was overcharged, it's ludicrous to think. And you look at how much people were charged, and it's like, whoa, like this is wild. How
Mhm.
does somebody get charged that much? Just see if I can find one more good one.
I don't have the first one yet, just so you know.
It didn't come through yet. Okay. And it may be because we're on the phone. Let me see here. And then we might just have to cut this. Maybe just plan to do this next time. But let me just see if I can find these screenshots because these are precious. Oh, yeah. Here we go. This is a really good one. Let me just find a really, yeah, this is a little chunkier here.
Hey, do
Yeah.
you want me to rattle off what I showed you of how
Sure.
many years and what parents are spending?
Oh, yes, please. Yeah. What'd you find out from the survey while we're
Okay,
waiting for
so I
that?
did a quick survey on Facebook. The survey's over with, but okay, so I kept track of moms and dads. It really doesn't really matter. So one person, 12 years, 60,000, 10 plus years, 850,000, 7 years, 13,000, 3 plus years, 40,000, 9.5 years, 400,000. Over in England, pro se, 5 years, 100,000 pounds, quid. 4 years, 300,000. 10.75 years, 3 million. Do you really want to go into family court? 8 years, 1 million. 10 years, 600,000. I'm just skimming over this. You know, um, 14 months, 100,000, 200,000 in attorney fees, 50,000 in sanctions. And somehow it all totaled up to 400. They took the 401k. That's what it was. They took the person's 401k.
Right. Well, and then you get people's houses being sold, and it's like, wait a minute, I thought you were doing this in the best interest of the children.
Oh my
How
God.
is selling the house to pay the attorney's fees? A lot of times, a guardian ad litem's fees, who is supposed to be representing the minors, how is selling the house? Oh, I'm sorry, wrong children. The attorney's children.
Right.
That's that's whose best interest it's for. Yeah, I don't know if
Mhm.
those emails went through or not. Did you see them?
Nope, I
Did they
don't
come
have
through?
them.
No.
I don't have
Okay.
them.
Well, yeah, so we'll leave people on a cliffhanger here.
Oh
We'll
yeah.
show some samples in the next time we get together.
I'll even show mine online.
Cool.
Yeah, why not?
Great. I just want people to be more educated about this
Right.
and be able to stop the damage before it happens. Because if
Mhm.
you have somebody who is fraudulently billing you,
Mhm.
overcharging you, not billing you properly, you know what? You can be damn well sure that they are not doing a good job as your lawyer either.
Oh,
That's it.
I did get the email, but
Okay.
do you want to save it for next time?
We could. We could. Yeah, we'll leave that as a little cliffhanger for our next
Yeah, for
episode.
Halloween, we could do a Halloween, scare the hell out of everyone.
Scary. I love it.
Yeah, really?
All right.
So how can people reach you if they have any questions?
Sure. You can email me at theo@alliedra.com. You can text me at 630-205-2466. I won't pick up unless you text me first and you mention this podcast. Then I'll kind of save you and I'll know who's calling if you try to call. We need to schedule. I'm getting so busy. I
Mhm.
apologize. I want to get to everyone. I've been hearing lots of interesting stories. And you can find me on LinkedIn, Theodore Chino. There's another Theo Chino on there too. So when Maryann puts this up, you'll see me probably make a comment and I might share some legal management services videos in the comments of this post that
Mhm.
Maryann puts up.
Definitely. Thank you so much. I totally appreciate you. Oh my goodness, we did a lot today.
You know,
This was great. Hey, don't jump
yes.
off. Slam the Gavel's a podcast to help the public understand what really goes on in these courtrooms. I'm your host, Maryann Petri, and you can find me on Spotify, YouTube, Apple iTunes, iHeartRadio, Google, and other platforms I don't even know about. Also, please like and subscribe on the YouTube, and feel free to buy me a coffee to help keep this podcast going. And everyone have a good weekend. Maybe not after hearing this, but you're educated, right? Thank you.
Thank you, Maryann. Ciao.
Ciao.